Okay, we're going to try this again. This is my third try at this. Maybe 3 times is a charm. I restarted my Wi-Fi. I think it's good right now. Let me get my page set up while I see if anyone wants to come on live. It is cold today. Why is it so cold in mid-April? Oh, I see it. It looks pretty clear. All right, let's get started. Okay, it looks like by myself in this live video, but that is fine. I am trusting my wonderful Algebra 2 students to go back and watch this video. We are starting a new unit. We just got finished with factoring, and we had to do factoring before we did these quadratic functions because you're going to eventually have to use the factoring in the lessons in this unit. So we're on a new unit, quadratic functions. Today's April 16th. And our goal in this lesson, this is an easy lesson on IXL. All you have to do is name the parts of a quadratic function. First of all, let's start by making sure that you remember from Algebra 1 that the graph of a quadratic function is a parabola. It's called a parabola. It looks like this, or it can be turned upside down. One thing I want to write on here is the standard form for a quadratic function. You're not going to really need it for this lesson, but later you will. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals y. Sometimes you'll see it set equal to y. Sometimes you'll see it set equal to 0. If it's set equal to 0, that means we're going to be solving the equation. If it's set equal to y, that means we're going to be graphing it. The main thing you need to know, though, is that a quadratic function has a degree of 2. That first term has an exponent of 2. What I'm going to do right here is just go over these parts to a quadratic function, to the parabola. They're important parts that you're going to be asked to name in the IXL lesson that you do. First of all, a parabola. Now, my parabola, y'all know I don't draw very well. It's a little bit too pointy down here. It should be more rounded because it is not a perfect V. Make sure you know that the parabola is more like a U. Okay, and it can be wide, it can be skinny, but it's not ever in a it doesn't have sides of rays. It doesn't have lines on each side. All right, so when you have your parabola, these important parts are, you have the parabola that's cut in half right down the center that forms 2 mirror images on each side. They reflect across this imaginary line, and the imaginary line that I've got shown here as a dotted line is called the Axis of Symmetry. I put SYM, but it stands for symmetry. It's symmetrical. That means every point on the left side has a matching point on the right side of that axis of symmetry. It could fold over and just lay on top of each other. The axis of symmetry goes through the graph at this point right here called the vertex. The vertex is going to be at the very bottom of a graph that's turned up, like this one. If the graph is turned down where it's upside down like this, then the vertex point is going to be at the very top, and your axis of symmetry will be going through it like that. If it's on top like this, that is a maximum point, and if the parabola is turned up like this, then your vertex is at the very bottom of the graph. It's the very bottom point. You have whenever your parabola crosses the y-axis, that point where it crosses the y-axis is called the y-intercept. Okay, so the y-intercept, just like with linear equations, is where the graph crosses the y-axis. The graph crosses the x-axis sometimes in 2 points, sometimes in 1 point, sometimes in no points, and you'll learn about that later when there's no points where it crosses. It's kind of floating up in the air up here or either down here. But most of the time it crosses in 2 points like here. So you have an x-intercept at that point, and you have an x-intercept at that point. Okay, and so on your lesson, it's just going to show you a graph, and it's going to ask you to name different points. That's basically what you're going to have to do. So here's example 1. I think you can see it all. I'm going to slide it up just a tad. Okay, let me look and see if that is all in view. Okay. Here's example 1. It says, look at the graph and name the following. So here's your graph. And I'm going to zoom in just a little. Because I want you to kind of see where those points are. All right. So it says to name the y-intercept. Part A says name the y-intercept. The y-intercept is right here. And when you name the y-intercept, you don't have to name the point. You just name the y-coordinate of the point, which is going to be 2. Because that point is 0, 2, but you don't have to say the point 0, 2. You just say 2. So for y-intercept, it's 2. Now, the vertex is a point that you have to give in ordered pair form. So look over here, and this is the vertex. The vertex is this very top point. If you had an axis of symmetry, the axis of symmetry would be going right down through the middle of that parabola. And the vertex is on that axis of symmetry right at the top of the parabola. And that point is 1, 2, 3. That's it. 1, 3. So that's what you name for your vertex. It's going to tell you on IXL to give the ordered pair, so make sure you read your directions. It's going to be 1, 3. Now the maximum value, remember I told you if the parabola is turned upside down like this one, the maximum point is here at the top, this vertex. The maximum value is going to be the y value up there, which is 3. Okay, so the maximum value is 3. Example 2 says name the following. Let's see if you can see this. I think I'm going to have to... Sorry. Sorry about the commotion. There you go. Whoops. Alright. Sorry about the crash. My little rigged system here fell over because my candle moved. I'm going to show y'all what I do. See? I have my phone sitting up here. There's a candle sitting here to hold it down, and I just knocked it over. So all right. Example 2. Name the following. Axis of symmetry. All right, so your axis of symmetry, I didn't draw the dotted line because I wouldn't have the dotted line drawn, or they won't have the dotted line drawn on the IXL lesson. So I wanted you to make sure that you can see it. And when it says name the axis of symmetry, you have to name it as an equation. The equation is always going to be x equals, because it's a vertical line. So it's always going to be x equals, and then you name the x point right here where that axis of symmetry crosses the x-axis. Okay, so that is going to be at 1. So you would say x equals 1. That is your axis of symmetry. Again, make sure you name your axis of symmetry with an equation, x equals 1. And then it says to name the minimum value. This parabola is turned up, so the vertex is here at the bottom. It's the bottom point. And when it says name the minimum value, again, it's saying name that y value right there, which is -1. And you just put -1. You don't have to put any equation. It's not an equation. It's just that value of the y coordinate. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to example 3. And it's going to be our last example. This example 3, here's our parabola. You can take a look at it. It says name the y-intercept for part A, name the vertex for part B, name the equation for the axis of symmetry for part C, and part D, name the maximum value. This one example, I think, shows all 4 different things that you're going to have to name on an IXL. So this will be a good example to keep with you when you're doing your work. Name the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the parabola crosses the y-axis, which is right here at 0. So the y-intercept is 0. And remember, you just put the value 0 in. Name the vertex. The vertex is right here. My parabola is not drawn exactly right, but that's where the vertex is supposed to be. And that point, whenever you name a vertex, you have to actually name an ordered pair, because you have to tell what the point is. And that's going to be -1, 2 for x, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, +4 for y. So -2, 4 is your vertex. That is the answer for part B. Part C, name the equation for the axis of symmetry. So remember, the axis of symmetry goes through that vertex. It's a vertical line that you don't really see. It's an imaginary vertical line. And so the axis of symmetry is always x equals. And then it's going to be x equals -1, 2, because it goes through over here on the x-axis at -2. Uh-oh, I need to slide that over. Let me make sure. I have to see that pop up on my computer so I can make sure that y'all can see that. Okay. So once again, when you name the axis of symmetry, it's x equals, you look over here to see where that vertical line is on the x-axis, and it's -2. So x equals -2 is your answer. And then part D, name the maximum value. Again, the value is like the y-coordinate of the top maximum point. So you go over to your vertex up here and you name what that y value is, which is just 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just 4. Now you can always get that by looking at the y coordinate in your vertex. It's always going to be the maximum value. And just a heads up, the axis of symmetry is always going to be the x coordinate in the vertex. So the maximum value or the minimum value is always going to be the y in the vertex. And the x coordinate in the vertex is always going to be the number in your equation for your axis of symmetry. And that's all there is to this lesson. Eventually we're going to get to the point where you're going to have to graph them yourself, which on IXL you'll have to probably click on some points and to draw the graph. But in this lesson, all they're going to do is ask you for these things. And that is going to be Algebra 2. Make sure you go to Algebra 2. Do J1. Make sure you know that's a J. J1. This time I want you to get a SMART score of 100 because I went all the way to 100. They're all the same. They don't really get any harder. So make sure you do Algebra 2, J1, SMART score of 100. All right, I hope y'all have a great day. Message me if you need any help. So far I've gotten most of your worksheet problems through email. And I will see y'all tomorrow. I hope to get to talk to some of y'all on a video call. So tomorrow afternoon, maybe around 3 o'clock. I was hoping I would get to, I don't know, I was hoping I would get to do a video call with you. I need to talk to some of y'all, make sure everything's okay, that y'all understand everything. Make sure everybody's up to date on their assignments. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye.